Everybody knows what's going on with Cuomo. I was on, was with Eric Hunley, and we were talking about
podcast for everybody else.
But I'm getting mixed up with streams as to who it was that we were talking about. Cuomo.
You're on there with Good Logic, who's good. He's got his own YouTube thing now. Definitely go subscribe to his channel because he does need some new TV equipment. And Nick Rekieta, who will be a featured guest on our Wednesday weekly guest series we've started.
Just so everybody knows, Nick Rekieta is coming on. Joe Neerman, and it's Good Logic, Lawgik. But I'm totally senile. It was actually on my channel with Ian Corzine.
C, isn't it? Good Logic with a C.
You'll find it. It's Lawgi, either C or K. But the discussion about Cuomo was actually on my channel with a stream with Nate and Ian Corzine, another lawyer on YouTube. And I think I'm less interested in the workplace sexual harassment stuff. That's par for the course with politicians these days, it would seem.
Well, that's the Chinese water torture that Kamala Harris, whoever's behind this, is using to drive him out. But his big legal risk is the nursing home issue.
Okay, so now we're going to go back to the beginning on this because we talked about this months ago. I mean, we talked about it months ago. For anybody who doesn't know, at the time in April, I think it was March or April, Cuomo and others, Whitmer, Wolf, they signed executive orders that were requiring nursing homes to accept back people coming out of the hospital, discharged from the hospital, who were COVID positive. And apparently, at the very least with Cuomo, they were prohibited from administering tests to see if they were still infectious before bringing them back in. We'll talk only about Cuomo's case, and we'll see if there's any analogies to the others. Cuomo does this, brings in however many. I mean, they had numbers like, I think it was 9,000 that they readmitted back into nursing homes, who subsequently infected the nursing homes because it was the place, not just in New York, not just in Michigan, Pennsylvania, in Quebec and Canada. That's where 70 to 80% of the fatalities occurred. And that's where the spreading occurred as well. In New York, he admitted, close to 10,000. I think it's 8,000 patients back to the nursing homes, infected the nursing homes. Then they started having a rash of deaths in the nursing homes and elsewhere. And what ended up happening is a lot of the people who got sick in the nursing homes were put in hospitals, and they subsequently passed away in the hospitals, except Cuomo immediately after there was a firestorm from this policy, changed the way they counted nursing home deaths and started to exclude the deaths that occurred in hospital. One of the arguments is going to be that it doesn't make a difference. The aggregate number, it doesn't make a difference where it occurs. If it occurs in a hospital versus the home, doesn't matter so long as the aggregate number is accurate. Others are going to say, well, if you're increasing the spread by the practice, which is what one of the articles said, is they increase the spread not only in New York, but potentially nationwide, by, infect there, put them in the hospital, continue the spread, downplay, or at the very least, fuzz where the spread is coming from, where the deaths are coming from, which is the accusation that now Cuomo, in fact, sort of negatively affected the rest of America, because the virus, the strain that spread in Texas, Louisiana, elsewhere, was the New York strain, not the West Coast strain. Those are the facts. That now, when we know that Cuomo delayed responding, providing numbers to the Department of Justice requests because he didn't want the numbers being used against him, delayed giving the numbers to the state for the same reasons. And there was one thing. So that's the facts. The one question that I have is, early on, we talked about it. He had given immunity to nursing homes. Do you know the context of how, why, and what the rationale was for giving immunity to nursing homes? I don't remember if I knew it.
Well, it's something they've been done. There was no good rationale, but I mean, the nursing homes wanted it because they felt they were being forced to comply with certain policies that might expose them to legal risk. And the nursing homes and people related to nursing homes are big contributors to Cuomo and the Democratic Party in New York. So, because I had clients who wanted to sue for their parent or grandparent dying in the nursing home from these policies. And in all these Democratic states, Maryland and other places, they had come in and immunized them, said you can't sue them for anything related to COVID. And so it was very little discussion of it in the mainstream press. And there was very little rationalization of it that I saw that that any public policy could justify. Because it was, what they created was, okay, I'm going to order you to do something. I'm already immune under sovereign immunity, and now I'll immunize you. So I've created this perfect circle where nobody can be sued for this bad stuff we're doing. And now I think where there's two issues. One is that early on, the CDC corrected itself and made clear not to do this. And even after that point, Cuomo continued to do so. So he only has the CDC as an excuse for part of the time. The other analogy I give to people is go back and look at what all the lawyers, legal experts on the left said when they thought Trump simply didn't disclose who in the White House had COVID and went on a trip. And they said he should be criminally prosecuted tomorrow for mass murder. Well, what Cuomo did was actually mass murder. Why are they all so silent right now? Why are they all so high? That shows what frauds, fakes, and phonies all these legal experts really are, because their political bias just consumes them. This is much closer to that. Now, is it hard to prove from a criminal perspective to show that? Well, as you pointed out, they just did it to the governor of Michigan for what he screwed up on just poisoning the water. So this was much, much worse. If once that political process has been, or prosecutorial process has been weaponized in that way, there's no reason why Cuomo can't be prosecuted. And now the easiest way to prosecute him is all the cover-ups. He likely submitted materially false information and obstructed inquiries into what he did, and that's almost always a crime, and it can be both a state and federal crime. That's why right now he's under criminal investigation by both the federal prosecutor in the Eastern District of New York and the state attorney general. And the political background is a lot of people were saying, oh, nothing's going to happen to him. Look at what happened to Democrats in the past. Look at what happened to the Virginia Democratic governor. They don't understand there might be powerful people afoot who want to see Cuomo's political career killed. They want to see what happened. They want to see his political career go the route of grandma in Cuomo's nursing homes. And that's why I think he's at real risk.
Well, and now people were saying also, people are saying three things. Everyone views this through politics. They say it was Democrat states, Whitmer's Michigan, Wolf's Pennsylvania. Who's New Jersey? No, I don't remember. But they're saying it was these Democrat-run states that had this problem. That may be true in the states, although I think there may have been. I don't know if there's other Republican-run states that had similar outbreaks in nursing homes. That was sort of the universal spreading point everywhere. In Canada, nobody was letting this happen so they could make Trump look bad. People are saying, Cuomo did this, Whitmer did this, Wolf did this, so that it would reflect poorly on Trump in an election season. I won't go that far.
There's an argument for that, but no, I don't think that was the driving cause. The driving cause was they wanted to do what they wanted to do and ignored certain medical evidence when it hurt them. And when they got caught, they try to hide it and cover it up. And the question is there going to be a consequence when they have? I think there's potential issues of at least implicit bribery in terms of these political donations from nursing homes given special immunity afterwards because of these deathly policies by these politicians.
I guess the idea is, why give them immunity if it's not a risky thing in the first place, is the one thing. Was there immunity given in other states like Michigan and Pennsylvania? And is there any evidence of failure to disclose numbers in Michigan and Pennsylvania like there is in New York?
We don't know that yet. And that's why I think certain people are behind this. So the certain vice presidents that may exist, that may currently be the vice president, may not see the governor of Pennsylvania or the governor of Michigan as much of a threat, whereas they might see the governor of New York as a major threat. And that may be why there's such focus on him. But I would be surprised if something similar didn't also happen. And Jack Posobiec was detailing very early on. He's another guy that's going to be on one of our future weekly interview series. He was one of the first people to rat this out. And he was documenting it in Pennsylvania. And that person is currently up for a high-ranking position. That was the person, remember, she, born a he, now a she, is the person who took her own mother out while she was sending other people to die in nursing homes. Took her own mother out of that facility. And she's now a high-ranking Biden administration official.
I never put the two and two together. That I remember that story coming out at the time. Had no idea. I was so young and naive to all of this. I didn't know names and I didn't know anything. I never put that two and two together. Yeah, it's beyond hypocrisy. It is rule. It's beyond rules for thee, but rules for me, but not. You know what it is. It's
It was
beyond.
criminal negligence on a massive scale that killed lots of people for politicized purposes, ultimately. And there should be some legal consequence somewhere. And one of the things they should do is remove these liability limits, at least on the politicians that were involved in it.
Let's see here. I will go that far to accuse Cuomo. It's.
I mean, there were other people who did it, but people like me were tweeting in March that we needed to protect the nursing homes. So this didn't require a medical degree to figure out. You could just,
That's the other thing is the CDC's recommendation is one thing. I mean, the defense might serve for a certain period of time, but we were talking about it here. Like the outbreaks were in nursing homes. We call them long-term healthcare facilities in Quebec and Canada. We knew it. I had people calling me in April asking if I would represent, and I said, I'm never in a million years, but I just can't do it. But and our problem here was that we had no PPE in the early days because our government donated it to China quite literally in February, knowing that this was all looming. And then when the stuff hit the fan here, they don't have face masks, they don't have visors, they don't even have enough gloves, which they got by April or May. But by that time, the damage was done. And it's like it was 78 or 80% of the fatalities were in nursing homes, but like something like a majority of an even higher degree of the spread occurred from nursing homes because you had staff going from one nursing home to the other, spreading it, and they could detect the origination from nursing homes. So we knew it in Canada. We just don't have the same political landscape. It's just for here, it's just to cover up negligence. But in the States, it's a different realm.
Yeah, I mean, it coincidentally fits. A guy who had a major influence on this public health policy, Bill Gates, has publicly said before he favored death panels. So it's kind of, interesting how the people putting out his policy proposals that in part influenced this action as a guy who favors death panels. And the guy, and this maybe be a good bridge, the guy who was talking about this at the time and said it was coming is now bringing a case up before the U.S. Supreme Court because judges are trying to use their power over litigants to suppress, censor, and punish speech.